The importance of images and visual media in contemporary culture is changing what it means to be literate in 21st century. Today's society is highly visual and visual imagery is no longer supplemental to other forms of information. A visually literate individual is both a critical consumer of visual media and a competent contributor to a body of shared knowledge and culture. 65% of people in the United States are considered by definition to be a visual learners. Therefore, we can assume that 65% of our school-age populations are visual learners as well. The question is, are there teachers visual teachers? It is critical to the status of our educational system that we are not using 20th century teaching methods to educate 21st century learners. Creative or critical thinking skills must be taught at the earliest age possible, for this becomes the foundation upon which our students will construct their educational experience, one that will evolve into lifelong learning.
The different attributes of visual literacy. There are some consideration you can make to become a visual literate. So, determine the nature and extent of visual materials needed. What type of images you need. What format would work best for your needs, and what do you need the image to depict. Find and access needed image and visual media effectively and efficient. Who would have the image that you need? Are you looking at reliable sources for images? Interpret and analyze the meanings of images and visual media. What do you see? Who is the subject in the image? What do you think is happening in the image? Evaluate images and their sources. How is the quality of the image? Good, poor, acceptable? What should you look at to identify the image quality? Use image and visual media effectively. Do you need to use the image to get your point across? What is the message that the image is sending, and does it fit your image needs? For designs and creates meaningful images and visual media, what type of image do you need? What resources you use to create what you need? Understand many of the ethical, legal, social, and economic issues surrounding images and visual media. Can you find the attribution information needed for that image? Do you know how to size the image properly? And if not, how can you figure that out?
So now, let's proceed to the 4 essential visual literacy skills. The first one is to interpret narrative. A visually literate person can look at many types of illustrations or motion pictures and be able to interpret a story even without the use of words or audio. The second one is to interpret emotion. Visually literate people can interpret emotion and intention from studying facial expressions and body language. The next one is to recognize patterns. A visually literate person can recognize patterns and motifs in visual media. And lastly, think abstractly. A lot of visual language involves symbolism. A visually literate person can look at an image and understand that its meaning may extend beyond its literal shape.
The next literacy that we're going to discuss is the emotional literacy. It is a concept underlying an individual's understanding of emotions. It is termed by psychotherapist Claudia Steiner. According to him, emotional literacy is the ability to understand your emotions, the capacity to listen to others and empathize with their emotions, and the potential to demonstrate emotions effectively. In other words, emotional literacy is the understanding and figuring out oneself and the way you deal with your emotions that will affect your mood. And there are 4 attributes of emotionally literate person. One can notice and name emotions they are feeling and those they see in other people. Meaning to say, you are able to recognize your emotions and show empathy towards other people. Next is understand the message of an emotion is aiming to communicate, for example, cause and effect. Meaning to say, you can able to control your emotions and anticipate what will be the result.
The next attribute of emotional literacy is select emotions they are experiencing and chooses what to communicate. It is being aware of how you feel and choose the right emotions in communicating others. The last one is accepts emotions as a normal part of life, as is talking about and working with them with the people they trust. This means knowing that emotions are normal part of life and is being able to know how to manage and deal with it together with others. According to Claude Steiner, there are 4 R's of emotional literacy: responsibility, resourcefulness, resilience, and respect. Psychotherapist Steiner believed that it was the key to the formation of successful relationship, enhanced problem-solving abilities, and improving overall quality of life. At its most basic, it involves the ability to identify labels of feelings in ourselves and others. In addition, emotional literacy incorporates with coping and expressions of emotions in appropriate ways.